recognized that they were supposed to be in need of healing. That the tax collectors and sinners were in deep need of being made whole because they were hurting. For Christ was there because he was there to seek and save the lost. He came to those who needed him the most, and the people who needed him the most were eating and drinking in the room. In that very room were the people whom Christ came to. The sinners. You see, the tax collectors and sinners there are a symbol of us. Because we too were sick of sin and we needed healing. And Christ was not afraid to come and be with us. And he came of his own free will. Because we are the ones who need to be healed. We are the ones who need our sins to be taken away so that we may be clean. Because many times we are the ones who are hurt. We are the ones who are shunned. Many times we are the ones that are hated or despised and very much alone. You see, the feast contains the people whom he was sent into the world to call to himself. The broken. So that he could make them whole. And so this is why Jesus was at the feast. Because it gave Christ a chance to do the work of God that the Father had given to him, was to be with those who needed the attention of the great healer more than most. And so what you see here in Luke 5 is that when a people or a group of people is so loathed, despised, and hated, the problem is they begin to feel as if they no longer belong with the rest of the world. They feel like they have been cut off. They feel they are no longer worthy of anything more than just sideways glances and being by themselves. They feel alone. In fact, I used to hang out with such people in school who were told those things, that they were told that they were not good enough, and that they had begun to believe what was said about them. They began to believe that they were not worth anything, or that they would not amount to much. So they were pushed off and discredited. But you see here with Jesus at the feast, this is exactly why Jesus was eating and drinking with them. I mean, we saw in Romans 5:6 that at just the right time, Christ came to save the ungodly. And then in John chapter 3:17, verses 18, Christ came for he did not come to condemn the world, but to save those who believed in him. That whoever believes in him is not condemned. So Christ was there at the feast to lead those very people who had been condemned by their own brothers and sisters. He had come for those very people who had believed they were so unworthy in their eyes of their fellow Israelites, that they were incapable of being loved or being accepted by God. But Christ came and he was there among them to do the work of God that the Father had given him, which was to show them that they were indeed loved by God. That all people are loved by him. It didn't matter if they were considered wicked people. It didn't matter if they were considered ungodly. It didn't matter if they were tax collectors who worked for Rome. God still loved them. God still wanted to be with them. And this is the whole reason Christ came, was because of the love of God. And that by genuinely breaking bread with them, he was demonstrating God's love for them by willing to be among them. For this is how Christ would eventually demonstrate his love for us. As Paul says in 5:8, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That Christ came for the sinners. Christ came for all who have for all who have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I mean, Paul really summed up what this moment is about right there. While we were still sinners, while we were still cut off and separated from God, Christ came and died for us as a demonstration of his own love for us. You see, by Jesus being at the feast, is letting the tax collectors, the very sinners he had been sent to save, know that they are indeed worthy of the love of God. And this is what the Apostle John says in 1 John 4:10, that God loved us and sent his Son as the atoning sacrifice for our sins. This is important to know because the group of outsiders, these heathen, the others, those people that were so marginalized that they did not feel like they could ever be loved by God, are having a chance to break bread and drink with him and experience and know the power of his love for them. You see, this is a powerful demonstration of for all those who are in need of healing. It does not matter who you are. Rather, it's all about that Christ came here regardless for you because he loves you. You see, even the tax collectors maybe even realized that they did not belong in the very same room with Christ. Again, we must not underestimate the thought that they may have not been capable of receiving anything. Because even today, people still believe that they are not worthy of God's love that was shown to them through Christ by his demonstration for dying for them on the cross. But Christ was there because he loved them. And because he was there, it reveals the work in which he was given by the Father. The work that he was going to do on the cross.